Puff sues Diageo. A hotel video from 10 years earlier is put out. Now people don't like Puff. And then Diageo, they go in with the most insane media takedown I've ever seen, all the way to not just the media, but not allowing a person to get bombed for $50 million. There's people with actual murders that are at home on bond and not a $50 million bond.
J-Lo was like his ex-girlfriend. and it's like now deciding she's like warning people against Trump. I'm like, well, wait a second. So how many people did she warn against Diddy?
Right.
Oh, 0. Okay.
Right.
Well, maybe we shouldn't trust her opinion.
Keep in mind that this case is only as public-facing as it is because it serves the interests of the 1% elite, right? We'll keep all this stuff in the front of our brains, distract us with this information about him and all of Black Hollywood being implicated. That's fine. Throw them to the dogs. But Jeffrey Epstein, none of that stuff is getting nearly as much attention, and it is very much intentional.
But back when you hosted The Apprentice, you mentioned once in 2012 that Diddy was a good friend of yours back then. He has since found himself in some very serious legal trouble.
Yeah, that's true.
Would you ever consider pardoning him?
Well, nobody's asked. You had to be the one to ask, Peter, but nobody's asked. But I know people are thinking about it. I know they're thinking about it.
So Kanye West and Elon Musk are dropping some heavy hints about what's really going on with Diddy's legal mess. And they're saying the whole thing isn't just about Diddy himself. It's part of a bigger plan to distract people from the Epstein case, which was just starting to blow up again. Kanye also claimed that Diddy got taken down because he messed with Diageo, the giant liquor company that backed a lot of his business. And according to Kanye, Diageo had to show Diddy who's really in charge.
I had to send my people down to Mexico. They went down to Mexico, and when they got down there, they found out that there was 0 agave planted for DeLeon. So there was no plan for us to be successful. There was no equal treatment. The other brands, they had agave planted. They had no agave planted for me. And sometimes you have to go check even your partners to see what's really going on. And so when I saw that, I was like, nah, I'm gonna fight because it's bigger than me.
Now, this doesn't mean Diddy's innocent or anything. After all, we've seen plenty of evidence that Diddy deserves prison time. But Kanye and Elon are saying the timing of it is extremely suspicious. Plus, the whole industry knew what was going on, and a lot of them were involved in some way. They all had a hand in letting Diddy build his empire, and no one said a thing until Cassie filed her lawsuit. And what's really wild is that the same powerful people who are freaking out about the Epstein files being released are also the ones who helped Diddy rise to fame and fortune when it suited them. So when these Epstein documents started getting attention again, suddenly there's this big drama around Diddy to pull people's eyes away. It makes you wonder if Diddy's fall was timed on purpose, just to keep the spotlight off of the Epstein stuff. So is it really just a distraction from something way bigger involving some powerful people? And who are these people trying to get their names removed from both Diddy and the Epstein files? There's a lot going on here, so let's get into it.
And don't you find it ironic, Miranda, that once again they take that same strategy out, and that is change the conversation? Okay, the timing of the P. Diddy arrest, please. They must have had the P. Diddy arrest on the shelf, waiting to take it off the shelf for when they needed it.
Yo, this whole Diddy situation has gotten so insane. It's honestly hard to tell what's real and what's just media noise at this point. Over the past year or two, the whole case has turned into a pop culture circus. Memes, TikToks, jokes flying everywhere, like it's just entertainment. And sure, some of these stories are so wild, it's hard to not laugh or be shocked. But the deeper you look, the weirder it gets. And the more it seems like we're all being played. And the media is definitely doing what it does best, sensationalizing every nasty detail to keep distracted while burying the actual important stuff. Because here's the real question no one seems to be asking anymore. How is it possible that one man, even someone as rich and powerful as Diddy, was allegedly running this huge criminal operation, transporting victims across state lines, blackmail, extortion, money laundering, blowing up people's cars, you name it, and yet he's being charged with RICO alone? RICO is designed for organized crime for entire networks of people. When's the last time someone got slapped with a RICO case alone, with no co-defendants and no one else being named as an accomplice?
Prosecutors allege his business empire was also a criminal enterprise, making him millions and enabling decades of criminal activity.
Basically, the government's got to prove that there was an enterprise. They then have to show that there was a pattern of activity.
That pattern must include at least 2 predicate acts, related crimes committed by Combs and others within 10 years to prove a racketeering conspiracy.
And then they have to show, of course, that the defendant, that is Mr. Combs, that there was a hierarchy, a structure involved, and that Mr. Combs either ran it or participated in it along with other conspirators.
So where are those other conspirators? We heard some of the alleged accomplices named in civil lawsuits filed by Diddy's accusers, and social media also did its part. And there's even a lot of speculation that Diddy was not the leader, but more like a middleman in this whole operation.
So what is to start his own company called Arista Records in 1974. Now, while he's going through, the CBS sues him to recover some of the funds. He's not indicted or charged with any crime, including the broader allegation on payola-related misconduct. So the relationship between and Diddy's interesting because when Diddy's 23 years old, he's making a name for himself. Gave him $15 million to start Bad Boy Records. And then later on, they did even a bigger deal where $50 million advance on future earnings. This is 5 years later in 1998. $6 million upfront payment, $700,000 annual salary, and a state-of-the-art recording studio. We're talking a $2 million recording studio. This is when he went after Faith Evans. He got Biggie in the early 90s. This is when it started. But there's a relationship with, and it's interesting because later on, they say something may have happened here because Shook said taught him the bad habits.
And if Diddy really was blackmailing some of the most powerful people in the world, which is what some of these lawsuits and reports imply, then logically there had to be others involved. And yet no one's naming names. No raids on other executives, no subpoenas at people like or Jimmy Iovine or Ron Burkle. All of these people helped prop Diddy up, and yet no one is asking them anything. They get to pretend like they never even knew Diddy.
A lot of people are curious about the status of P. Diddy.
Status of what?
P. Diddy. Diddy.
Like puppy. The status of puppy.
What do you make of that situation? All right. No comment from on P. Diddy. You're a major influence on the career of P. Diddy. Have you spoken to him since the federal raid? Have you spoken to Sean Combs? Any comments about Diddy? He credits you as one of his mentors.
So now it's just Diddy front and center getting dragged in the public eye while the bigger machine stays untouched. And instead of real journalism digging into those missing pieces, we get headlines about male escorts, freak-offs, and baby oil. The nasty, over-the-top details are getting more attention than the structure behind all of it. And the public is being fed tabloid drama instead of a real story. It seems like it's distraction 101, and maybe that's the point. And Kanye West has become one of the loudest voices calling out what he sees as a carefully orchestrated takedown of Diddy. Now, it's honestly hard to pin down exactly what Kanye thinks about Diddy because over the years, he's made so many contradictory statements. One minute he's calling Diddy a fed, the next he's praising him for being a mentor. But lately, Kanye's been pushing a more specific theory that Diddy's downfall has nothing to do with getting justice for victims. According to Ye, it's about power, control, and revenge. The system isn't cracking down because it suddenly cares about what Diddy did. It's cracking down because Diddy stepped out of line and tried to take on the same people who made him rich in the first place. Specifically, Kanye's pointing to Diddy's lawsuit against Diageo, the liquor giant that partnered with him on his Ciroc and De Leon liquor brands. For years, Diddy and Diageo had a profitable partnership. Diddy was the face of Ciroc and later helped push De Leon tequila, bringing in billions for the company.
Everyone come together, let's do a toast to this monumentous moment.
Yes, this is gonna
be
a special moment.
From Harlem to Mexico, I'm from Harlem. I'm from the inner cities of Harlem, and I made it this far. This is a very proud day for me, you know what I'm saying? And I want to teach people the art of tequila, that it's an art. It's a patience to it.
Yes,
it doesn't always have to be shot and be decadent. It can be sophisticated, and that's what De Leon represents. luxury and sophistication.
But in 2023, Diddy filed a lawsuit against Diageo, accusing them of racism and claiming they failed to support his brands the way they did for other white-owned ones. He alleged that Diageo treated his products like urban brands and intentionally limited their growth. And this wasn't just a regular business dispute. It was Diddy going after one of the most powerful liquor conglomerates in the world, publicly and aggressively.
An international alcoholic beverage company. It's based in London. It is a major distributor of Scotch whiskey, producing major brands like Johnnie Walker, but they also have other liquors in their portfolio over the years. A lot of brands: Ciroc, Smirnoff, Bailey's, Tanqueray. They also own Guinness. Lawsuit. I want you to take a look at some of the first lines of this lawsuit that he filed against Diageo. It was filed on behalf of Combs Wine and Spirits LLC. It reads, quote, "Cloaking itself in the language of diversity and equality is good for Diageo's business, but it is a lie. While Diageo may conspicuously include images of its black partners in advertising materials and press releases, its words only provide the illusion of inclusion. As Combs Wines and Sean Combs have experienced firsthand, Diageo, by and through its parent company's chief executive officer, Ivan Menendez, has proven unwilling to treat its black partners equally, even when explicitly required by contract to do so." The complaint goes on to say that rather than equal treatment, Diageo has treated Mr. Combs and his brands worse than others because he is black. Diageo has typecasted Ciroc and De Leon, apparently deciding they are black brands that should be targeted only to urban consumers. Diageo's president of reserve and new business, Stephen Rust, directly acknowledged the company's racist undertones in 2019, telling Mr. Combs that some within Diageo's leadership resented him for making too much money. He also admitted that Mr. Combs' race was part of the reason Diageo limited the neighborhoods where the Combs brands were distributed. If Mr. Combs were Martha Stewart, Mr. Rust said, things would be different.
And that's when, according to Kanye, the gloves came off.
So let me explain to you why I stand by Puff. When I went against Adidas, Adidas got my bank to freeze my accounts right before tax time. From the way I understand that, you evade taxes, you can go to prison. So I believe Adidas tried to put me in prison for not abiding by their contract. So watch this. Puff sues Diageo. A hotel video from 10 years earlier is put out. Now people don't like Puff. And then Diageo, they go in with the most insane media takedown I've ever seen, all the way to not just the media, but not allowing a person to get bond for $50 million. There's people with actual murders that are at home on bond and not a $50 million bond, right? So there's something that just feels like it's a public lynching. And it also feels like there's something where they try to do the same thing to me. And that's my stance on that.
So Kanye's view is that the industry turned on Diddy not because of morality, but because he got too bold and forgot his place. Clearly, the powers that be don't care what these celebrities do behind closed doors as long as they stay in line and keep the money flowing. But once Diddy challenged Diageo, he became a liability. And Kanye, of course, compared this to his own situation when he was deplatformed and had his bank accounts frozen over a single tweet. So the message seems to be, cross your corporate masters and they'll dig up every skeleton you've got and leak them to the press if they have to. Now let's be clear, none of this excuses Diddy's actions towards Cassie and other alleged victims. The stories coming out are horrifying, and even if half of them are true, he absolutely needs to be held accountable. But what's insane is how all these powerful people, CEOs, record label executives, maybe even politicians, clearly knew what was going on for years and said nothing. Worse, they enabled it. They gave Diddy money, platforms, awards, and press coverage while he allegedly ran a criminal operation in plain sight. So this sudden outrage didn't come because these elites care about the victims. It came because Diddy dared to turn on his masters. That's when the lawsuits and the raids were greenlit. So yeah, Diddy's actions are his own, but the system around him is just as rotten, and they only turned on him once he stopped being useful. And then there's also the fact that all these celebrities who partied with Diddy, worked with him, and kept in close contact for years are now suddenly acting like they never knew the guy.
Jay-Z's lawyer, Alex Spiro, went on to make the statement to say that there is no friendship or long-time bond here. Just because they knew each other or know each other doesn't mean anything. Unless we are living in the Twilight Zone, we all know that that statement is completely false. I mean, these guys have been in pictures with each other for over 20 years. If they don't have a friendship, I don't know what you call it.
And then Elon Musk has also recently called this out directly, even naming people like Jennifer Lopez, who was publicly linked to Diddy in the past, but now pretends she had nothing to do with him.
J-Lo was like his ex-girlfriend, and it's like now deciding she's like warning people against Trump. I'm like, well, wait a second. So how many people did she warn against Diddy?
Right.
Oh, 0. Okay.
Right.
Well, maybe we shouldn't trust her opinion.
You know?
Sounds rough, man.
Well, it's just amazing how many people on the Diddy party list that are supporting Kamala, too.
Yeah, seriously. It's like insane.
Publicly, openly, all in.
Yes. It's like...
And what's wild is that this is the same pattern we saw with the Epstein case. Epstein supposedly unalives himself in prison. Ghislaine Maxwell gets sentenced for procuring victims, but to who? The clients, the actual PDF files are still protected. We still don't have a full list of names, and the people who were around Epstein the most, politicians, billionaires, celebrities, have mostly stayed quiet and untouched.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah.
Would you,
I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
All right.
I guess I would. I think that less so because, you don't know it. You don't want to affect people's lives if it's phony stuff in there because there's a lot of phony stuff with that whole world.
And now with Diddy, it's the same playbook. He's the fall guy, while the elite circles that enabled and benefited from his empire keep their hands clean and mouths shut. So when you take a step back and look at the bigger picture, the Diddy situation starts to feel a lot less like justice being served and a lot more like a carefully timed takedown. Was all this planned? Was it orchestrated because he went after Diageo and threatened the wrong power structure? And how deep does this really go? Because just like with Epstein, there's a pattern here. One person takes the fall while the elite network around them stays protected and silent. So is Diddy's case just a distraction from the Epstein files blowing up again? Or are these two cases connected with the same powerful people involved in both? Something doesn't add up. And it's time more people started asking real questions. So let me know what you think. Was Diddy's downfall about justice or control? Is this all a smokescreen? Is there an even darker story being covered up? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next video.